This project with the Dominicans emerged through Father Terence Crotty. He approached me and asked me if I was interested in taking on the commission. They wanted something to celebrate the 800 years of the Dominicans coming to Ireland. So I met with Father Terence, and he wanted 4 specific things. He wanted a picture that was dawn. He wanted a picture where there were 12 Dominicans. So there's no historical, I suppose, there's no detailed record as to what happened when they came. So for me, that was like a blank canvas. I could really just use my imagination. So dawn, 12 Dominicans. They wanted to see Christ Church Cathedral in the background, which was built at the time in 1224. And they wanted 1 or 2 of the Dominicans as brothers, as opposed to just all being priests. So, and that was it. So I had free range to do anything. So when I met with him and he was explaining this to me, I could see the picture in my head. I just could see it. I couldn't wait to get started. So I asked him if I could have his habit. I used it as a reference. And yeah, so that's how it started. I just had this idea that if I wanted to make it kind of epic, this sort of epic thing, that these 12 Dominicans were coming over, 1224, what was going on, and how difficult that may or may not have been for them to travel over. And so I wanted to get that across in the picture. And then of course, the dawn light and everything. So I started with loads of sketches, and I knew that I wanted to create this feeling that that the 12 of them were moving as a group. It wasn't just sort of 1 or 2, but because they're a community, the Dominicans are a community. So I wanted to get across that they are a community, moving together as one, and on this new mission to Ireland. And then I suppose going to Mass here in St. Saviour's, after Mass, we're always fraternizing with the priests. So, it's part of my memory and everything. So that came out through the background. I was imagining some of the priests just chatting away with the local Irish, and just trying to get to know them, and if they're wearing these stark black and white outfits, and I'm sure people must have thought, who are these people, So I wanted to kind of get across that they were trying to break the ice, and but at the same time, I thought, although I have them moving, I wanted to choose kind of one in particular who was leading the way, and that's why the painting is sort of focused on this one particular Dominican. And they're looking at their new ground, which is what Four Courts is. And he's holding a rosary. So he's basically, my idea was that the steps that he's taking forward, it's the work that's involved, coming across the Irish Sea and so on, and the leap of faith, but also his prayer. He's kind of putting that at the forefront of his mission. So, and then in a way, the light is, they're walking towards the light. So we don't see that, but they're moving towards the light. So that's very symbolic of what their mission is. And the light is shining on the church, so they're guided by the church. And but at the same time, they're kind of in shade. I don't know. I was just sort of thinking, they're in darkness. We're in darkness, all of us. So we don't know what our paths ahead are in store for us. So we have to trust that we're guided by Christ and Christ's light. The work took me I met with Father Terence in October, kind of the end of October. But around Christmas time is when I was off from teaching. So that's when I started to put paint to canvas. So from around Christmas time, end of December till literally a few days before it was unveiled, I was working on it. So about two months or so of painting. But since October, drawing and sketching, I did loads of little color studies. So the hardest part was the reference. I had to gather a lot of reference poses. I sourced some models. I had to kind of rehearse the whole thing before I actually painted it. So that was the hardest part, because if the composition was key, just the idea of the light and everything. But once I had that fleshed out, then I could just paint with abandon, you know, and I felt assured that it was going to be successful. So.